In a grand Los Angeles mansion, Emma, a humble and determined young woman, begins working as a housekeeper. Behind the glittering walls, a little girl, Emily, feels the cold distance of her father, William, and the icy stepmother, Elisabeth. But Emma's warmth sparks hope, capturing William's heart and awakening Elisabeth's jealousy. Can her courage and kindness break the walls of pride and fear, bringing love and happiness to a broken home? A story of resilience, passion, and transformation is about to unfold. Before we continue, I want you to know that your opinion is very important to us. So, if you're enjoying this, please leave a comment, like, and subscribe to the channel. This simple and kind gesture will help us write new, exciting stories for you. The morning sky was heavy with grey when Emma clutched her worn leather purse against her chest and stared up at the tall iron gates of the Bernard estate. Her heart raced, not just from first-day nerves, but from the quiet dread of stepping into a world that wasn't hers. The intercom crackled. A housekeeper's voice answered. "I'm Emma. I'm here for my first day," she said, brushing a loose strand of brown hair from her face. The gate buzzed open. Inside, she was told to wait in the kitchen. Moments later, a cold, impatient voice sliced through the silence. "Who is that?" Emma turned. "I'm the new housekeeper. My name is Emma." The woman who appeared in the doorway didn't offer a handshake. "I'm Elisabeth," she said curtly, "mistress of this house, wife of Mr. William and stepmother to the girl. I expect punctuality and discretion. My staff speaks only when necessary. Is that clear?" "Yes, ma'am," Emma murmured, trying to hide the tension rising in her chest. Elisabeth led her through the grand foyer, where crystal chandeliers glimmered above polished marble floors. "Your duties are simple, cleaning, nothing more. Don't involve yourself in family matters." Her voice was smooth, but her tone was laced with venom. Then, soft footsteps. A small girl appeared at the end of the hall, wearing a white dress and clutching a teddy bear. Her eyes, though curious, carried a sadness far too deep for her 8 years. "Emily, back to your room," Elisabeth ordered, sharp as glass. "I just wanted to see who she is," the girl whispered, her voice fragile. Her eyes met Emma's, hope flickering to life. "Are you going to live here?" Emma knelt and smiled gently. "No, sweetheart, I'm just here to help make the house sparkle." Emily's face brightened for a moment, but Elisabeth swiftly grabbed her arm. "I said, don't bother her, go." "She's not bothering me," Emma blurted before she could stop herself. The silence that followed was thick. Elisabeth's gaze narrowed like a blade. "I hope you know how to follow orders. My husband dislikes noise and any interaction between staff and the child." Elisabeth turned and walked away. Emily stayed behind, tugging softly at Emma's apron. "Please don't go," she whispered, as if confessing a secret. A lump rose in Emma's throat. The little girl's loneliness was palpable. And as Emma glanced up, she caught Elisabeth watching from the end of the corridor, a cruel smile on her lips. In that instant, Emma understood. This wouldn't just be a job. She was stepping into something far darker. The hum of the vacuum filled the living room later that morning when Emma sensed the child's eyes on her again. Emily crept closer, careful not to be heard. "Do you know how to sing?" she asked shyly. Emma turned off the machine, smiling. "A few songs." "Why?" Emily shrugged. "My real mom used to sing to me. Aunt Elisabeth never does." The innocence of the words struck Emma like a chord. Something inside her softened. Gently, she began humming a lullaby her own mother had sung years ago. Emily clapped softly, following the rhythm. The moment was tender until Elisabeth's voice cut through the air. "Emily, I told you not to disturb the staff." The girl jumped, but Emma stood, her gaze steady. "She wasn't disturbing me, ma'am. She was just keeping me company." Elisabeth's heels clicked closer, her perfume heavy and suffocating. "Company," she repeated, her voice dripping poison. "That is not part." Of your duties, Miss Emma, and certainly not with my husband's daughter. Emma took a steady breath. I understand. But she only wanted to talk. I didn't see any harm. Well, I do, Elisabeth hissed, leaning close enough for Emma to feel her breath. A word of advice: keep your distance from her if you know what's good for you. Emily's small hand found Emma's again, a silent plea for safety. Elisabeth noticed, her lips tightening before she turned and strode away, leaving the air thick. With dread, Emma knelt, smoothing the girl's hair. "Does she always talk to you like that?" she whispered. Emily bit her lip, nodding. "Don't tell her, okay? She gets mad." Emma's heart broke. In that vast, beautiful house, the child lived in fear. And deep down, Emma knew something in that home was terribly wrong. That evening, as she packed the cleaning supplies, the deep baritone of a man's voice echoed near the entrance. Mr. William had finally come home. The deep, steady voice, authoritative yet weary, made Emma turn. There he was. William, tall, composed, his suit flawless, his expression detached. "Good afternoon, sir," Emma greeted softly, trying to sound polite. He gave a brief nod, cold, distant, and walked past her toward his daughter. "How was your day, Emily?" The girl ran to him eagerly, arms outstretched. But his embrace came too slow, arms closing around her only halfway, like an obligation rather than affection. "It was good, Daddy," she said brightly. But the light in her eyes never reached his face. From the top of the stairs, Elisabeth watched the scene unfold, like a director controlling her actors. Emma, standing quietly by the doorway, felt a silent outrage growing inside her. That child deserved warmth, not formality. William's gaze flicked briefly toward Emma, but before he could speak, Emily blurted, "Daddy, Emma sings. She knows the songs Mommy used to sing to me." The air froze. William's face hardened, his eyes darkening under the weight of memory. Elisabeth descended the stairs slowly, like a shadow ready to strike. Without a word, William turned and disappeared into his study, Elisabeth following close behind. The days in the mansion passed slowly. But for Emma, every sunrise brought a new reason to stay, a reason with bright eyes and an innocent laugh. Emily. Every time that small face peeked from behind a door or down a hallway, Emma's exhaustion seemed to fade. "I found you!" Emma exclaimed one morning, discovering Emily curled behind an armchair. The girl giggled, her laughter pure and bell-like. "You're good at this, but tomorrow I'll hide even better." Emma crouched down to her level. "Then tomorrow I'll have to be even smarter." The girl's eyes sparkled. Day by day, trust bloomed between them, a fragile flower growing in the coldness of that house. One afternoon, while Emma folded laundry in the service area, she heard a whisper behind her. "Can I help?" Emily stood there struggling to hold a bedsheet, nearly as tall as she was. "I think that one's a bit heavy for you," Emma said, smiling, "but you can help me fold the pillowcases." The girl's face lit up as she joined in, her little hands clumsily smoothing the fabric. "Aunt Elisabeth never lets me help," she confessed quietly. "She says I just get in the way." Emma bit back the anger in her throat. "That's not true. You're an amazing helper." Emily looked up, eyes wide. "You really think so?" "I'm sure of it," Emma said, her voice firm and sincere. A sweet silence followed, broken only by the rustle of fabric. Then Emily whispered, as if sharing a secret too precious for the world, "I wish you were part of my family." Emma froze, her heart swelling with emotion. That little girl's longing was pure and painful. The next morning, as Emma polished the hallway floor, Emily appeared in her pajamas, clutching her stuffed bear. "I couldn't sleep," she said softly. "Why not?" Emma asked, setting the mop aside. "I had a bad dream. Aunt Elisabeth said that if I don't obey, Daddy will stop loving me." The words struck Emma like a blow. She sat down on the floor and opened her arms. "That's not true, sweetheart. Your father loves you. He just doesn't know how to show it right now." Emily nestled into her lap, the tension in her small body melting away. "You talk like my mum used to," she murmured. Emma felt tears sting her eyes. She just held the girl tighter. That afternoon, William came home early. The sound of laughter from the kitchen caught his attention, a rare sound in a house built on silence and control. He stopped at the doorway, watching unseen. Emma sat beside Emily, who was drawing geometric shapes in a notebook. "Perfect," Emma encouraged. "You did all the problems by yourself." When they noticed him standing there, both froze. Emily lifted her notebook timidly. "Daddy, look, I did it." William hesitated, then took the notebook. His eyes moved across the messy pages, then settled on his daughter's face, the bright, proud smile he hadn't seen in years. "You did this all by yourself?" he asked, disbelief softening his tone. "With Emma's help, but I understood everything." He looked up at Emma. She smiled humbly, but her eyes held quiet confidence. William cleared his throat, trying to recover his usual composure. "Emily tends to get distracted," he said stiffly. "I didn't think she was so good with numbers." "She's not distracted, sir," Emma replied gently but firmly. "She just needs attention." William raised a brow, surprised by her courage. "Is that so?" he asked, turning to his daughter. "Do you like studying with her?" Emily hugged Emma's waist and nodded eagerly. "Yes, she's patient, and she makes me believe I can do it." William said nothing for a long moment. A part of him wanted to keep his distance, but another part, buried deep, felt something shift. Maybe his daughter didn't need discipline. Maybe she just needed someone to believe in her. Then Elisabeth entered. Her heels struck the floor like a metronome, her expression perfectly composed. "Well," she said sharply, "looks like the housekeeper has decided to become a tutor." Emma rose slowly. "I was only helping Emily with her lessons." Elisabeth crossed her arms, her smile tight. "Don't you think that's odd, dear?" she said to William. "A maid teaching your daughter?" William drew in a breath, exhausted by her constant barbs. "If my daughter is learning," he said firmly, "I see no problem." He turned, back to Emma. "Continue helping her," he said simply, "as long as it doesn't interfere with your duties." The next day, the clock struck 5 in the afternoon, when the sound of a door opening echoed through the grand hallway. Emma, who was picking up toys scattered across the rug, looked up in surprise. William stood there, still in his suit jacket, without his usual rush. And for once, he walked slowly toward his daughter. Emily blinked, startled. Her father never came home that early. "Daddy, you're home already?" William crouched down, gathering her into a longer embrace than usual. "I decided I needed a break, and to see my little girl smile," he said, his voice softer than Emma had ever heard. Emily clapped her hands with delight. "Can we play? Emma made up this game where we guess drawings." William looked at the housekeeper, who was holding papers and colored pencils. A faint smile, almost imperceptible, curved his lips. "Let's see if I'm any good at this game, too." The three of them sat cross-legged on the living room floor. Emma quickly drew something on a piece of paper and turned it toward Emily. "That's easy. It's a cat," the girl laughed. "Very good. Now it's your father's turn," Emma said, handing the pencil to William. He chuckled nervously. "It's been years since I've drawn anything." "Then it'll be fun," Emma encouraged. With unsure strokes, William sketched an awkward figure, and Emily squealed, "It's an airplane. I knew it." She jumped, with joy wrapping her arms around him. For the first time in what felt like forever, William laughed, truly laughed, and the sound filled the house. Emma watched quietly, feeling the weight of the moment. The cold, distant businessman seemed to melt away, revealing a man still capable of warmth. The game went on until Emily, tired from laughter, curled up against her father's chest. "Daddy," she murmured. "Emma said I'm really smart." William smiled at her, then looked at Emma. "She's right," he said softly. "You're smarter than you think." Emma lowered her gaze, touched by the tenderness of the scene. William cleared his throat, searching for composure. "Thank you for making her feel so happy," he said, gratitude rare in his tone. "She just needed someone to believe in her," Emma replied gently. Their eyes met, for a second too long, carrying something neither dared to name. Between them, Emily slept peacefully, unaware that her presence had sealed a silent bond. But from the staircase, Elisabeth watched every gesture, every glance, and her expression promised a coming storm. The next morning, the air in the mansion felt heavier. Emma was mopping the floor when she heard the sharp echo of heels approaching. Elisabeth, flawless as always, walked past her and headed straight for Emily's room. "Emily, darling, I need to talk to you," she said, her voice sugar-sweet but insincere. The little girl sat on the bed, still glowing from yesterday's laughter. "Hi, Auntie. Daddy played with me yesterday. He even laughed," she said, her eyes shining. Elisabeth sighed dramatically, adjusting her earrings. "Yes, but did you know he got very tired afterward?" she began, leaning closer. "When he went to bed, he told me that all that excitement keeps him from resting. He works so hard, Emily. You need to understand that." Emily's eyes widened. "But he laughed so much with me," she whispered, confused. Elisabeth pressed her lips in fake concern. "He laughed so you wouldn't feel bad. That's how your father is. He never complains to you. But to me, he said you should stay in your room quietly when he gets home. It's for his own good. You understand?" The sparkle in Emily's eyes faded like sunlight slipping through fingers. "So, I can't play with him anymore?" "You should keep your distance, sweetheart," Elisabeth lied smoothly, brushing a hand through the girl's hair. "You want him to keep loving you, don't you?" Tears welled up, but Emily only nodded. "Yes." "Then be a good girl," Elisabeth said with a satisfied smile. "When he comes home tonight, stay in your room. Don't bother him." Later that morning in the kitchen, Emma noticed Emily's somber face as she came down for breakfast. "What's that sad look for, my little flower?" Emma asked, kneeling to meet her eyes. The girl hesitated before whispering, "Daddy doesn't like when I play with him. Aunt Elisabeth said it makes him tired, and he doesn't want me to bother him." Emma's heart tightened, but she stayed calm. "Who told you that?" she asked, though she already knew. "Aunt Elisabeth. She said Daddy complained." Emily bit her lip, fighting tears. Emma took a deep breath and gently brushed the girl's hair back. "Emily, listen to me very carefully. Never doubt how much your father loves you. Yesterday I saw how happy he was playing with you. If he had been upset, I would have noticed." Emily looked up, uncertainty clouding her small face. "So, you think my stepmom lied too?" "Me?" Emma hesitated, not wanting to sow hatred, but unwilling to let a lie win. "Sometimes people say things that aren't true," she said softly. "But trust what you feel. Your father loves you, and I'll always be here to remind you of that." Emily threw her arms around her, sobbing quietly against her chest. It was a little past 5 when Emma helped Emily organize her school notebooks. As she stepped away, Elisabeth leaned toward the girl, her tone sweet as honey. "Let's listen to Emma and do your homework, okay? But when your father comes home, stay very quiet. He's tired and needs to rest." Emily nodded, though fear flickered in her eyes. Emma returned to her chores, feeling a suffocating tension hanging over the house. When she heard the sound of a key turning in the front door, she looked up. William was home early again, unusual for him. As he entered, his gaze immediately fell on his daughter, sitting silently at the table, drawing without the sparkle she'd had the day before. "Emily," he called softly, approaching her. "What's wrong, my little one?" She lifted her eyes but didn't speak, clutching her teddy bear tightly. William knelt beside her, searching her face for answers. "Emma," he said quietly, glancing at her. "Did something happen?" She took a deep breath, hesitating. Emma knew she had to protect Emily without directly accusing Elisabeth. "She's been quieter today," she said softly. "But I think if you talk to her, she'll feel better." William studied Emma. For a moment, noticing her calm yet determined presence, and something about that quiet strength stirred him. An unexpected warmth crept into his chest. He leaned closer, gently brushing his daughter's hair from her face, realizing how much attention she truly needed. "How about we do something together tonight?" he suggested, trying to lift the mood. "Maybe a game or some drawing?" Emily gave a shy smile, though uncertainty still lingered in her eyes. Emma stepped in with gentle intuition, handing them colored pencils and paper. William watched her carefully. "Thank you, Emma," he murmured, his voice softer than usual. "You have this way of calming people." Emma blushed, lowering her gaze, though a faint smile escaped. There was something disarmingly honest about that moment, something that began to melt the cold distance that had defined William for so long. Minutes passed, filled with shy laughter and unspoken glances. Emily began to open up, showing her drawings, spinning, stories with the boundless imagination only a child could have. William laughed, truly laughed, for the first time in months. "She's amazing," he said, turning to Emma. "I've never seen her so light-hearted." Emma's smile deepened, pride softening her tone. "She just needs attention. That's how children bloom." William couldn't take his eyes off her. The kindness and patience in this young woman awakened something in him, something he thought he'd lost forever. But from the hallway, unseen, eyes watched every gesture, every look. Elisabeth stood in the shadows, lips pressed together, already plotting her next move to push Emma away and reclaim the control that was slipping from her hands. That afternoon, the mansion seemed unusually peaceful, a fragile calm hovering over the tension Elisabeth tried to contain. Emma was picking up books from the floor, while Emily played with her dolls on the rug. William, still home earlier than usual, approached quietly, studying the young woman. "Emma," he called gently but firmly, "can I ask you something?" She looked up, surprised, and nodded. "Of course, sir." "What's your life like outside of this place?" he asked. "I mean, I'd like to know who you really are." Emma blushed slightly, caught off guard, but somehow feeling safe with him. "It's nothing extraordinary," she began softly. "I work as a housekeeper to pay for my degree in early childhood education. I want to help children, to make a difference in their lives." William leaned forward, absorbing every word as if each carried something sacred. "Education," he echoed thoughtfully. "So, you've chosen to dedicate your life to guiding children. That's admirable." Emma smiled modestly. "I just want to graduate. It's not easy balancing everything, but every small victory makes it worth it." He took a step closer, not crossing the line, but enough to let her feel the sincerity in his voice. "I never imagined someone so humble and devoted could have such a powerful impact on my daughter's life," he said, "and you do it so naturally." Emily, noticing the warmth between them, ran to Emma and grabbed her hand. "Daddy, Emma helps me all the time," she said, eyes glowing with affection. William looked at his daughter, then back at Emma, and something inside him softened completely. "I can see that," he said with a smile, more at peace than he had been in months. "You have a rare gift." Emma's eyes lowered, her heart quietly moved by his words. For a moment, time seemed to stop, The tension, the manipulation, the pain, all faded into silence, leaving only a connection neither could name. Night fell over the mansion. The quiet hallway echoed with the faint ticking of the clock. In Emily's room, the girl was already in her pajamas, clutching her teddy bear. Elisabeth entered, her smile sweet but her intentions dark. "Let's have a little talk, sweetheart," she said, sitting at the edge of the bed. Emily looked puzzled, but leaned closer, sensing this wasn't an ordinary chat. "It's about Emma," Elisabeth began, her voice syrupy soft, laced with poison. "You need to understand, that woman isn't really your friend. She's nosy, careless. She leaves things unfinished." Emily frowned. "But she helps me with homework, and she's really nice." Elisabeth sighed dramatically, adjusting her earrings. "Oh, honey, that's just how she makes it look. But she's only pretending to be nice because she wants something, and I can't let that continue." Emily clutched her teddy bear tighter, confusion clouding her little face. "But Daddy likes her," she whispered. Elisabeth narrowed her eyes, keeping her smile intact. "Don't misunderstand, sweetheart. Your father is tired from work. He needs peace, order, and quiet. I'm only doing what's best for him and for you." Her tone softened further, almost hypnotic. "Some people just cause trouble, even when they don't mean to. You'll understand when you're older." Emily looked down, her small world shaken by doubt. "And you know what, Emily?" Elisabeth said, rising gracefully. "If I see Emma interfering again tomorrow, I'll have to let her go." Her heels clicked softly against the marble floor as she left, her perfume lingering like a warning in the air. In the dim light, Emily hugged her teddy bear tighter, her heart torn between fear and the faint memory of Emma's comforting voice, the only truth she could still hold on to. "We can't allow someone without discipline to disrupt our routine." Emily clutched her teddy bear tightly, fighting back tears. Elisabeth smiled as she left the room, her face calm and composed. But in the quiet hallway, anger simmered beneath the surface. Every step she took was part of a silent plan to drive Emma away from William and his daughter. The next morning, William walked into the living room and instantly sensed that something was wrong. Emily was sitting on the couch, hugging her teddy bear, her eyes distant, her usual spark gone. Something about her posture made his heart tighten. "Emily, my sweet girl," he said softly, kneeling in front of her. "What's wrong? Why that sad little face?" The girl avoided his gaze, her voice small and trembling. "Emma's going to be fired." William frowned, confusion and concern flashing across his face. "Fired? What do you mean? Who told you that?" "Aunt Elisabeth," Emily whispered. "She said Emma meddles too much, that she gets in the way, and if she keeps it up, she'll have to leave." William felt a rush of anger rise inside him, but he forced himself to stay calm for his daughter's sake. "Emily," he said gently, "thank you for telling me. I promise I'll take care of it. No one will take away the person who makes you happy." He stood up and went to find Emma, who was folding laundry in the service area. "Emma," he called, his tone steady but filled with quiet concern. "I need to ask you something. Is what Emily told me true?" Emma looked up, surprised. "Sir, Mrs. Elisabeth mentioned something, but I'd rather not cause tension," she said carefully. "I just want to keep helping Emily." William stepped closer, his eyes searching hers, and in that sincerity he felt a warmth he hadn't known in years. "Emma," he said softly, "I admire your dedication and kindness. I won't let anyone stand in the way of that." Emily, sensing her father's reassurance, ran to Emma and wrapped her little arms around her waist. "Daddy, she's really nice to me. I like her." William looked at his daughter then, at Emma, noticing the calm strength and tenderness she carried. "I can see that," he said with a faint smile, "and I'm grateful you're part of my daughter's life." Emma blushed slightly, feeling both the weight of his attention and the responsibility she held in that home. Later that evening, William sat quietly in the living room, lost in thought. The ticking clock filled the silence until Elisabeth entered, her heels soft against the floor, her perfect smile masking her. Intent, she approached slowly, voice calm but edged with authority. "William, we need to talk about the maid," she began, tilting her head slightly, her eyes carefully studying his expression. "She's been overstepping her role, leaving chores unfinished, distracting Emily. I think it's best if we let her go." William raised an eyebrow, his face hardening with disbelief. "Fire Emma?" he repeated firmly. "Are you sure that's what you want to say? She takes care of my daughter with incredible patience and warmth." Elisabeth held her composure, though her voice grew colder. "If the housework is being neglected, it's not fair to us. We need structure, discipline." William took a long breath, walked toward the window, and stared outside before speaking again, his voice calm but decisive. "Listen carefully, Elisabeth," he said evenly. "If the housework is falling behind, we'll hire another employee." Elisabeth's lips parted slightly, caught off guard, though she quickly tried to mask. What do you mean?" "I mean," he said, turning to face her slowly, "Emma will remain responsible only for what truly matters, Emily's learning and well-being. She does that beautifully, better than anyone else ever has." Elisabeth swallowed hard, restraining her impulse to argue. "But that will disrupt the household." "No," William interrupted, his tone firm but calm. "It will protect my daughter, and it will show that some decisions aren't made for appearances, but for what's right." A heavy silence filled the room. Elisabeth forced a smile, though her eyes betrayed her frustration and quiet rage. "As you wish, dear," she said sweetly, her voice smooth as silk but dripping with poison. The following morning, sunlight streamed through the living room windows, illuminating scattered toys and coloring books. Emma was helping Emily finish a drawing when William entered, his mood noticeably lighter. "Good morning," he said warmly. "I have some news for you too." Emily looked up, curious, clutching Emma's hand. "What is it, Daddy?" William knelt down, gently taking his daughter's hand in his. "Starting today," he said with a smile, "Emma will be responsible only for you, your learning, your care, and your happiness." He looked at Emma. "She'll dedicate all her time to you." Emily's eyes widened in delight. "Really? I get to spend more time with Emma?" she squealed, hugging her tight. Emma blushed, smiling through tears of gratitude. "Yes, sweetheart," William added, smiling tenderly. "You'll have more time together, and Emma will be getting a well-deserved raise." Emma looked at Emily, her eyes shining with emotion. "Emily," she whispered, holding the girl's hand, "we'll have so much more time together now. I'll help you with everything you need." William stood nearby, watching the scene unfold, a warmth spreading in his chest, something deep and unfamiliar. The quiet realization that his home was beginning to feel alive again. William looked at Emma and said softly, "I can see this will make you happier and safer, and I want you to know I trust you completely." Emma lowered her gaze, her heart racing. For the first time in a long while, she felt seen, valued. "Thank you, sir," she murmured, her voice trembling slightly. "That means a lot to me." "Don't call me sir," he interrupted gently, his tone warm. "Just call me William." Her cheeks flushed a soft pink. She looked down again, shyly smiling. Across the room, Elisabeth stood still, leaning against the wall, a perfect mask of calm concealing the storm within. behind that flawless smile hid jealousy and anger, a bitterness that grew with every affectionate glance exchanged between William, Emma, and little Emily. For Elisabeth, the picture before her was unbearable. Her husband growing closer to the housekeeper, and his daughter finding in that woman the warmth she herself had long stopped offering. The next morning, sunlight filtered through the tall windows of the mansion, spreading a gentle glow across the rooms. Elisabeth was away at the beauty salon, and for the first time in weeks, the house felt alive, peaceful. Emma held Emily's small hand as they walked to the garden where a little vegetable patch thrived, the scent of fresh earth mixed with the sweet perfume of flowers. "Look, Emma," Emily exclaimed, pointing at the bright red tomatoes. "Can we pick some?" "Of course, sweetheart," Emma replied, kneeling beside her. "But be gentle, like you're keeping a secret with the garden," Emily giggled, her small fingers carefully imitating Emma's. Their laughter echoed softly in the morning air. Then the sound of the gate opening made them both look up. William appeared, still in his suit, but with a rare, relaxed smile. "Well, look at my two gardeners," he said, his tone playful and full of warmth. "Daddy," Emily ran into his arms, laughing. "You're home early." "Yes," he said, glancing at Emma, a spark in his eyes. "And it seems I arrived just in time to help." Emma smiled shyly. "Of course, sir. I mean William." He crouched beside them, picking a tomato gently, watching how Emma moved, calm, careful, kind. "You're amazing," he said quietly, almost to himself. "It's rare to see someone so patient, so devoted." Emily laughed again, running between them as Emma taught her how to water the plants and tend the soil. William stayed close, helping here and there, though his attention was often caught by the tenderness in Emma's every gesture. "I admire you, Emma," he said finally, his voice low, sincere. "Not only for how you care for Emily, but for the way you face life. It's inspiring." Emma looked down, her heart fluttering, but her smile lingered. For a fleeting moment, the world seemed simple, just laughter, sunlight, and the bond between three souls. From afar, the mansion was silent, until the faint sound of a car approaching broke the peace. Elisabeth had returned. As she stepped inside, the smile she wore froze for an instant. William, Emma, and Emily were laughing together in the garden, unaware of her presence. The sight hit her like a blade, joy that didn't belong to her anymore. "This," she whispered under her breath, anger seeping through her perfect composure. "This has to end." That night, the air in the house felt heavier. Emily was trying to tell Elisabeth about her day at school, proudly showing her drawings, but the woman's tone was cold, distant. "Emily, you talk too much," Elisabeth snapped. William, standing in the hallway, frowned and walked toward them. "Elisabeth," he said firmly, but with control, "I don't think it's fair to speak to my daughter like that. She needs affection, not criticism." "I'm only trying to teach her discipline," Elisabeth replied, forcing a smile, her voice sharp beneath the sweetness. "Discipline isn't taught through harshness," William answered, calm but steady. "It's taught through patience and love." Emily's eyes welled with tears, but she felt comfort in her father's defense. Elisabeth took a slow breath, retreating, hiding the fury burning beneath her elegant exterior. Later that night, William sat alone in his office, staring at the dark garden outside. The house was quiet, but his thoughts were loud, alive with images from the afternoon. He could still hear Emily's laughter, see Emma's gentle smile, the kindness in every gesture she made. "That woman," he whispered, a faint smile touching his lips. "She's changed everything." House once filled with tension now felt warm, human, alive. Emma had brought light into their lives, a light he hadn't realized he was missing. As the memory of her hand holding Emily's lingered in his mind, William felt something stir deep within him. Respect, gratitude, and something more, something he was no longer sure he could hide. Because sometimes The simplest moments, laughter in a garden, a kind word, a gentle smile, can awaken a heart that thought it had forgotten how to love. The next morning began under heavy clouds hanging low over the mansion, a reflection of the tension that filled the air. Emily was in the living room, quietly drawing, when Elisabeth burst in, her face tight with anger. "Emily!" she shouted, her tone sharp and cutting. "Why are you still here playing? I told you to go to your room." The little girl flinched, shrinking in fear. "But I was just finishing my drawing," she whispered, her voice trembling. Emma, who had been standing nearby, swallowed, hard, her heart pounding. "Please, Mom," she said gently. "There's no need to raise your voice at her." Elisabeth turned, fury flashing in her eyes. "This is none of your business, Emma," she snapped, stepping toward the girl. Before she could reach Emily, Emma moved quickly, placing herself between them. "She's just a child," Emma said firmly, "and I won't let you hurt her." Elisabeth's face burned red with rage. "Enough! You're just the housekeeper. You don't talk to me like that." But Emma stood her ground. "No, you need to stop. Emily is a wonderful child. She deserves love, not fear. If you want to yell at her, you'll have to go through me first." Blinded by anger, Elisabeth shoved Emma aside. The sudden push made the young woman stumble, and Emily cried out as she fell to the floor. "Enough, Elisabeth!" Emma shouted, horrified. "You can't treat her this way!" At that very moment, the living room door swung open, and there stood William, frozen, his eyes widening at the scene. Before him. "What's going on here?" he demanded, his voice heavy with disbelief. Elisabeth tried to compose herself, but the fury in her eyes betrayed her calm facade. "You don't understand," she began, but William didn't let her finish. He rushed forward, scooping Emily into his arms protectively. "This is unacceptable," he thundered. "How dare you raise your hand against my daughter?" Emily clung to him, still trembling, her small hand reaching for Emma's. I didn't mean..." Elisabeth stammered, but William's voice cut through her words. "Get out," he said coldly. "You will not spend another night in this house." Elisabeth's lips parted in shock. She wanted to argue, but the authority and fury in William's gaze silenced her. "This isn't over," she hissed through clenched teeth, forcing a bitter smile before turning away, humiliated. William knelt, holding Emily close. "It's all right now," he murmured, stroking her hair. "No one's ever going to hurt you again." Emma stood nearby, shaken but deeply moved by his strength. "Thank you, William," she whispered, emotion tightening her voice. Emily smiled through her tears and reached out to hold Emma's hand. For the first time in a long while, she felt safe and loved. At the doorway, Elisabeth walked away slowly, her pride shattered, her anger burning beneath the surface. As the morning sun broke through the clouds, light poured into every corner of the mansion, washing away the gloom. Peace seemed to return to the house. Emily ran through the garden laughing, her tiny hands intertwined with Emma's. "Look, Emma," she exclaimed proudly, showing a colorful drawing. "That's you, Daddy, and me." William chuckled softly, kneeling beside her. "That's beautiful, sweetheart. And Emma, you're doing an incredible job." Emma blushed, smiling at Emily. "She's the talented one," she said gently. William stepped closer, his voice warm. "She is. But so are you, Emma. You've brought light and joy back into this home." A month later, William walked into the garden holding an envelope. His expression was calm, yet resolute. He handed it to Emma. "Divorce papers." "Elisabeth has been officially notified," he said quietly. "Soon. It'll be final." Emily ran up, throwing her arms around them both, laughing and crying all at once. "Are you and Emma going to be together now, Daddy?" she asked, her eyes sparkling. Emma blushed, looking down. William smiled, cupping his daughter's face. "My priority is you, sweetheart. he said softly. And Emma, she's a big part of that. Emma's eyes glistened, but she stayed silent, her heart full. That evening, the golden light of sunset filled the hallways. Emily burst through the door, her face glowing with excitement. "Daddy, look!" she shouted, holding up her math notebook. "I got a 10. William, working in his office, immediately put everything aside and ran to her. "A 10? He repeated, astonished. "That's amazing, sweetheart. I knew you could do it." Emma appeared, behind her, smiling proudly. "I saw that," she said, wrapping Emily in a hug. "You worked so hard and look, it paid off." Emily laughed and spun in circles, clutching her notebook. "I used to get 6s and now I got a 10, all thanks to Emma." William's heart swelled with pride as he looked at them, the laughter, the light, the warmth he had long missed. "This calls for a celebration," he said with a grin. "How about dinner out tonight? We'll make this moment unforgettable." He paused, meeting Emma's eyes. "And of course, Emma, you're coming with us." She smiled softly, her heart pounding, realizing that sometimes family isn't found by blood, but by love, courage, and the quiet choices that bring peace back to a home once lost in shadows. Emma felt her face warm, a mix of surprise and quiet happiness glowing in her eyes. "I'd love to," she said softly, her voice steady but her heart racing. "It would be an honor to celebrate with you both." As evening fell, the city lights reflected off the car windows while the three of them drove toward an elegant restaurant in downtown Boston. Inside, the soft glow of chandeliers painted everything in gold. William couldn't take his eyes off Emma, admiring each gesture, each smile, every word that left her lips. "You have an incredible gift," he said, lowering his voice almost to a whisper as his hand brushed lightly against hers across the table. "Not just with Emily, but with everyone around you." Emma looked away shyly, her cheeks flushed. "Thank you, William," she replied, her voice trembling with emotion. "You make me feel valued in a way I never imagined." Emily watched them from across the table, a knowing smile forming on her face. Her little heart was full. She could already feel something beautiful growing between them. On the quiet drive back home, the air felt warm and full of unspoken emotions. Emily, exhausted from the joy of the evening, had fallen asleep in the back seat. Emma turned to look at the girl, her expression soft and maternal, then met William's eyes, his focus on the road but his heart clearly elsewhere. "She fell asleep so fast," Emma whispered, smiling. "I think today was really special for her." William smiled back. "Yes, and for me too," he said sincerely, his voice low. "Seeing you two happy like that, it's something I can't even explain." When they reached Emma's small house, William parked the car and turned off the engine. Silence filled the air, but it was the kind of silence that holds meaning, warm, full of anticipation. "Thank you for tonight," Emma murmured, her breath catching slightly. "Emma," he began, hesitating for a moment before his heart spoke. "You brought light into our lives, especially mine. After Emily's mother passed away, I sank into a deep sadness. I distanced myself from my own daughter. I married Elisabeth because I thought she might bring joy back into our home. But instead, it became darker. Then you came along and suddenly, everything felt alive again." He smiled gently, leaning closer. Before she could reply, William reached out and kissed her softly. The kiss was brief, tender, yet filled with emotion and meaning, a whisper of affection and promise. Emma's heart raced as her eyes closed, feeling the world fade into that single moment. When they finally parted, William held her hand, his gaze full of tenderness and quiet certainty. "Good night, Emma," he said gently, his voice like a caress. "Sleep well. I'll see you tomorrow." Emma smiled, her cheeks still warm. "Good night, William," she whispered, happiness glowing in her eyes. In the back seat, Emily slept peacefully, unaware that her father's first kiss with Emma marked the beginning of a love story that would change all their lives. The next morning, sunlight filled Emily's room, painting her toys and colourful drawings with a golden glow. William walked in quietly, smiling at his little girl still tangled in her blankets. "Good morning, Princess," he said, sitting beside her. "Can we talk for a bit?" Emily blinked sleepily, then smiled. "Of course, Daddy." He took her hand gently. "I've been thinking, and I wanted your opinion. What would you think if I asked Emma to be my girlfriend?" Emily's eyes widened, and then she gasped, her smile bursting with excitement. "Daddy, are you serious?" "Yes, my love," he said, his tone tender but certain. "I care about her deeply, and I know she cares about you, and me too." Emily jumped out of bed and hugged him tightly. "I love Emma. Daddy, you have to date her. I totally approve." William laughed, heart full, and hugged her back. "Then it's decided. We'll talk to her when she comes over." Later that morning, Emma arrived at the mansion carrying her bag, smiling as Emily ran to greet her. "Good morning, my little flower," Emma said warmly, hugging her. "Good morning. Daddy wants to talk to you about something really important." Emily grinned. William appeared in the doorway, his gaze steady, his heart pounding. "Emma," he began softly, stepping closer, extending his hand to hers. "I have a question for you." She looked surprised but smiled gently. "Yes, William?" He took her hand with care, his voice deep and full of emotion. "Would you be my girlfriend?" Emma froze, her heart fluttering wildly, and then tears filled her eyes as a radiant smile spread across her face. "Yes, William, I would love to." Emily squealed with delight, jumping between them and clapping her hands. "I knew it! Now we're a real family." William wrapped his arms around Emma, pulling her close. Their kiss was tender, full of affection and promise, the kind of love that feels like home. The mansion, once heavy with silence, now breathed joy and peace. Laughter filled the air again. A new chapter had begun, but just a few days later, dark clouds rolled in over the house. A storm was coming. The door swung open. Elisabeth stepped inside, still holding the access code she'd never given up. Her appearance was flawless, but her heart pounded with desperation. "William," she said softly, forcing a smile, "we need to talk. I've been thinking, maybe we can try again. Start over." William stood still, the strength in his voice unshakable. "Elisabeth, the papers are signed. It's over." Her smile trembled. "But I've changed," she insisted, her tone pleading. "We can rebuild, I promise. I'll even try to get closer to Emily." "No," William interrupted firmly, his eyes clear and resolute. "That part of my life is behind me. My focus now is my daughter and my happiness." Elisabeth froze, her hands tightening on her purse strap, her pride bleeding into anger. And as the thunder rumbled outside, she realized the life she once tried to control had finally moved on without her. "Elisabeth." William's voice was steady, though a hint of tension rippled beneath the calm. "She still works here?" He met her gaze without flinching, his expression firm yet composed. "Yes," he replied, taking a slow breath. "For now, she does, but soon she won't be working for me anymore." He paused, then added, "Because I'm in a relationship with Emma. She's brought peace, light, and love into my life, and into Emily's. And I won't let anything or anyone take that away." Elisabeth's jaw tightened. Rage flickered behind her perfectly polished smile. "You," she began, struggling to keep her composure, "you've lost your mind. You're dating the housekeeper." William took a firm step back, holding his ground. "No, Elisabeth," he said, his voice steady and resolute. "I lost my mind when I let you twist the truth, when I believed your lies and allowed distance to grow between me and my daughter. But that ends now. I'm finally doing what's right. And let me be clear, there's no room left here for manipulation or for you." Elisabeth froze, realizing she'd lost the control she once held so tightly. The silence that followed was sharp and heavy, broken only by William's steady breathing. "Now, if you'll excuse me," he concluded, his tone calm but commanding, "I'd like you to leave my home. Please respect my decision, and don't come back unless you're invited." Her pride wounded, Elisabeth turned on her heels, masking the fury burning inside her. She walked out of the mansion with slow, deliberate steps, her mind already racing with vengeance. But Elisabeth was not one to give up easily. In the days that followed, she began to whisper. Small, poisonous words dropped into the ears of mutual friends and even some of William's colleagues. "I heard William seeing the housekeeper," she'd say, her tone light, her smile deceitfully soft. "Can you imagine?" The gossip spread like wildfire. Soon, the hallways of the company buzzed with murmurs and cynical laughter. "The CEO dating the cleaning lady," one executive scoffed. "Maybe he'll bring her in to tidy the office next," another joked, smirking as laughter rippled quietly through the group. William noticed. He heard the whispers, saw the smirks, but he remained calm. The same clarity that guided his heart now steadied his mind. He would not let arrogance or prejudice define his happiness. "If they're going to talk," he murmured to himself, his voice firm, "let them talk about the truth." That night, as he sat in his office, the city lights glittering through the window, he smiled to himself, thinking of Emma's quiet strength, of Emily's laughter, of the peace that had returned to his home. "Tomorrow," he whispered, gazing at the skyline, "they'll understand, every last one of them." The next morning, William went to the office early. After his meeting, he picked up the phone and called Emma. "Emma, I'd like you and Emily to come to the company today," he said, his tone calm but certain. "The company?" Emma asked, surprised. "But what for?" "You'll see," he replied with a small, secret smile. "I have a surprise for you both." Emily, overhearing the call, squealed with excitement and threw her arms around Emma. "We're going to Daddy's company. Yay! It's been forever since I've been there." Emma couldn't help but laugh, hugging the little girl close, her heart warmed by her joy. A few hours later, Emma got ready with care. She chose a simple yet elegant dress, graceful, understated, and effortlessly beautiful. Her hair was neatly styled, her makeup soft and natural, highlighting her quiet confidence. "Emily, ready to see where your dad works?" she asked, smiling. "Yes, Emma," the girl exclaimed, gripping her hand tightly as they stepped out the door. When they arrived at the company, the once mocking executives froze. The laughter and gossip died instantly. All eyes turned toward Emma as she walked down the corridor, poised, radiant, and exuding quiet strength. "Who is she?" whispered one director. "She's stunning," murmured another, almost in disbelief. "She has class." Emma and Emily were guided into the conference room where William stood, surrounded by shareholders and senior executives. The air was thick with tension. Whispers still hung in the air from the rumors Elisabeth had sown. "Emma, Emily, please, come in," William said, his voice calm yet commanding. As they entered, the room fell silent. Every gaze followed them, from Emily's bright eyes to Emma's graceful composure. William stepped forward, smiling warmly, his confidence filling the space. He took Emma's hand, guiding her gently to stand beside him. "I'd like to introduce someone very special," he began, his voice firm but filled with pride. "This is Emma, my fiancée." The room froze. The silence was absolute. Every smirk vanished. Every whisper died. What replaced it was awe, a quiet recognition of dignity and truth. Emily's face lit up with pride, her hand clutching Emma's as she whispered, "That's my new mom." William continued, his tone steady and sincere. "Emma is not only part of my life, She's part of my family, and I expect everyone in this company to respect that." The executives shifted in their seats, faces pale. The courage in his words, the elegance in hers, it was undeniable. In that moment, every cruel rumor lost its power. Emma felt William's hand tighten around hers, a quiet message of love and protection. Her eyes glistened as she smiled back, her heart full, knowing this moment marked a new beginning. Those who had mocked now bowed their heads, realizing that true worth had nothing to do with titles, money, or status, but with courage, integrity, and love. And as William stood there, proud and unshaken, it became clear he hadn't just defended a woman, he had honored the kind of love that transforms and redeems, the kind of love that silences even the loudest doubts. Several months later, the morning sun poured over the mansion, bathing every corner in a warm, golden light that reflected the serene happiness now filling the home. The garden bloomed in vivid colors, and Emily ran freely across the lush lawn, her laughter ringing like music through the air. Hand in hand, William and Emma strolled alongside her, their gazes soft, full of tenderness and unspoken understanding. "Daddy?" Emily asked, her voice brimming with excitement as she gently touched Emma's belly. "Do you think the baby will like playing with me?" Emma's heart swelled, and a smile softened her face. "I'm sure he'll love having you as his big sister," she replied, her voice tinged with emotion. William slipped his arm around Emma's waist, drawing her closer, and pressed a gentle kiss to her hair. "You've brought so much joy into our lives, and now we'll have even more reasons to smile," he murmured. The couple paused in the center of the garden, watching Emily dart between the flowers, her little footsteps light and carefree. Emma rested a hand over her belly, feeling the baby's first movements, while William's expression radiated love and unwavering protection. "Remember when it all began?" Emma said with a soft laugh, her eyes meeting his. "I was just a simple housekeeper stepping into your life, never imagining it would lead us here." William squeezed her hands gently over her stomach, his own eyes glimmering with emotion. "Neither did I," he admitted, smiling. "But there's nothing I would change. You are my wife, the mother of our child, and the woman who has brought light and love into my life, and into Emily's." Emily ran up to them, wrapping her little arms around both of them. The trio stayed in the sunlit garden, laughing and playing, enveloped in a sense of complete joy and tenderness. The past, once marked by schemes and manipulation, was firmly behind them. The future glimmered ahead, promising even sweeter moments, wrapped in love and hope. As the sun climbed higher, illuminating each face with warmth and promise, William, Emma, and Emily prepared for the arrival of their newest family member, confident that together they could overcome anything. Love, courage, and unity had transformed the mansion into a true home, a place of joy, protection, and real happiness, where every smile, every gesture, and every embrace was a testament to dreams realized, challenges overcome, and a family finally complete. Thank you for staying with us until the very end. You are a vital part of this channel. If you enjoyed this story, please like the video, leave a comment with your thoughts, and subscribe. Your support helps us create more heartfelt stories of love.